Just to piggyback on the brother that spoke earlier on the racism and things, I think that is the big issue with the concept of what is religion and what is culture, and breaking down the genetic, the concept of, that most people prefer their own, but we have to always defend ourselves when it comes to why we prefer our own. And I noted even within the funeral services of the different
Races.
races, like let's say the Caribbean people or Trinidadians or Jamaicans, when their loved ones pass, most of these people are connected to a church, Catholic church, Christian church, and there's none of their cultural sharing going on in those places. Like their music isn't being played, the food, the whole system.
Yeah, that's because they don't know what their culture is.
Exactly. And I believe these churches settings are actually placed for the mixing of the people to mix together.
Yes.
That's in Africa
Concept
as
of
well.
love,
Yes,
loving
because
people.
remember, it's all about ghost worship and feeding these dead. And funnily, that book I picked up, I was going to touch on that. We've just got a video coming out called the Book of the Dead or something along that line, because the Book of the Dead, which most people refer to, is because, as you say, funeral rites were where they would write what they call them, a eulogy, right? And they will put that in the sarcophagus of the person, and these writings became known as the dead man's book. This is where that term, the Book of the Dead, came from. But it was really the coming forth by day, because we recognize the sun. I think somebody else asked a question about the sun, which we'll touch on. But so it's all about trying to feed the dead people that are now disembodied souls, or disembodied spirits rather, that are roaming, and they need the living to feed them that energy. So this is why Dracula is a being that deals, and they deal with worshipping the dead, known as necromancy, which is why the Catholic Church and Christianity, they say, take this and eat it, which is the flesh or the body of Christ. And then they give you a drink to drink, and they say this is the blood of Christ. So they're teaching you to eat the flesh and drink the blood of a dead person that's no longer around. And this energy is all feeding these beings that need the living. So the churches, with all their songs and all their gospels and all the energies, all being, and even when we say possessions, these there's like thousands of
Legions,
people,
yeah.
legions that are being possessed every Sunday all around the world in these churches and in these mosques and things. So you've really hit on a very important point. Like I said, there's a video, look out for that. We want that to go to 100K in the first week. But it's really deep when you start to look at the connections between these dead people who are from the Draco constellation, known as the Draconians, which becomes the story of Dracula, because Dracula can't take the sun. He needs to come out at what they're calling the night, and he needs to feed off of the blood of people. And then you take this to the beings that were hemophiliacs, that they didn't clot, and ties into the War of the Roses, with the Lancasters and the Yorks. So there's so much connection with this whole, even the slavery that people talk about was all about the blood, because the blood is what they feed off of, and they feed off of this energy that is created in these churches in the world with all the chaos. So yes, it's a very touchy and serious subject, and we need to, that goes all to 6 ether forces basically, and that's why 9 ether is here, because 9 ether deals with the sun, which is alive, and most of the religions, they deal with the moon, which is dead, which doesn't have life, and it needs the sun for its light, because it's non-luminous. So when you start to look at the moon and tie that to the moon cycle of the last 6,000 years, this is what the spell of, Leviathan and the spell of Kingu and the 6 ether spell is about, which 9 ether has come with the new cycle of 24,000 years known as a sun cycle to basically renew everything. But we just got to wake more people up so that they wake up from that spell of sleep.